Chamoru Diaspora man gimen man magudan man mahala Disina man malefanui tanumi egwong Tizas man yohotun kantan Chamoru Karatia man alita man barbecue man gimen sipesa pues naman basu Tenga todo ofan gubud Tizas manyohotan kantan Chamoru Makella quini gamsen Martinen sebesa Martigis mannen dumita ein pinika Nambulasun man munu pues
Half a day, Hamzu todos Gweno Hudzumni Umeega Parume Ekunguk. This is Fanachu. Tigwawe host Pago. I am excited to say that I am not the host today. You will only have to listen to me for about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then you'll be hearing from some much more interesting and exciting people. In particular, you will be hearing from Amara San Augustine, who is the outreach coordinator, manager, zine maker for Fanachu. And so I'm very excited that we have a virtual launch for the newest sort of endeavor from the Fanachu podcast, a zine focusing on sharing experiences from those who live in the diaspora, the Chamorro diaspora. And so let me share a little bit for those of you who aren't familiar with what diaspora means. And so today, for the first time in the history of the Chamorro people, as far going back 4,000 years, the majority of the Chamorro people do not live in the Marianas Islands. This is a trend that has been growing for several decades now, in which Chamorros have been leaving the Marianas Islands and settling in the United States. And so this is our reality now. What do we do in terms of maintaining connections, maintaining a sense of language, culture, and identity, even when Chamorros now live in places where there may be very few Pacific Islanders or very few Chamorros around them? In what ways? And so this zine is not meant to sort of lament the loss of culture or the loss of homeland in that way. This zine is meant to represent a challenge to the Chamorro people to think beyond the things that have divided us in the past. What ways can we develop a new sense of community and identity which stretches across time zones? In the same way in which we had close connections to those in our village, on our islands, how can we develop new networks that can keep us connected using technology, using different apps, programs, social media, whatever it takes? But how can we maintain, how can we develop new Sensuli networks, Inafamaulik networks, to sort of empower ourselves, get us ready for this next voyage that our people face. And so I'm very happy that Amara here has taken on the task of developing the zine. I will hand it off to her now, and then we will hear from some of the participating artists and writers. Sidus Masi Amara.
Yes, thank you so much, Maget, for that introduction. Thank you everyone for being here. I feel like I know you guys and I don't know you at the same time because I'm looking at your names and I'm matching it to the faces and to the artwork. So thank you so much for joining us. It looks like we have Aaron, and it's funny because I'm like matching your names to your artwork. As I'm looking at you. So Aaron, Isa, we have Ed, Connie, and Madeline. Thank you so much for joining us. So if you each could just give a little introduction, where you currently live, anything you want to tell the audience at this point, that'd be great. So whoever wants to go first can. Anyone? Don't be nervous.
Sure, I'll go first. So Inanhu Sied Sablan, and I live in Portland, Oregon, and I've been here for going on 30 years now. It's been a long time. I think, yeah, 30 years. But no, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see everybody celebrating who they are and creating all these wonderful things. So yeah, Sisus Masi.
So thank you, Ed. You own the restaurant, correct? If I can remember correctly, right? Is it
yeah.
PDX 671?
Yeah, we started out as a food cart, and then later on, after a few years, we opened up the restaurant, Viva Chamoru Kitchen.
Okay.
And then that ended up shutting during the pandemic. But yeah, we're still going, still doing stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And then anyone else? Next.
I can go next. So my name is Erin. Pronouns are they, them. I was born on Guam, but I've been living in Philadelphia for the past couple of years. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you, Erin. It's nice to meet you.
I can go next. Hapade Toru Samzu, Guahusi Isa Gagarin. I was born on Guahan, where my parents grew up. My Chamorro lineage is through my maternal side, and my father is from Ilocos Norte in the Philippines. Sumasigag Isa, Minneapolis, where I know 3 other Chamorro people. Tina Delisle, Dr. Vince Diaz, and Marissa Bonney. So I just have to say hi and thank you to them. But yeah, I'm a painter and I contributed an artwork that's made of paper to the zine. Sisus Masi.
Thank you, Isa.
Hi, I'm Connie. I currently reside in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've lived here for most of my life. I have a 1.5-year-old. But yeah, I'm just excited to be a part of the zine. I visited Guam 2019, so that was my very first time, and it was life-changing. And I'm just excited to be a part of this and be able to read through everyone's stories and just see everybody's artwork that they all contributed. Sisus Masi.
Thank you. I guess, Madeline, did you want to give an introduction as well?
Madeline wrote in the chat that they're here with Joey Swatzel and they can only listen in, but they're happy to be here.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. I should also probably give an introduction to you as well. You might have seen me in a couple of past episodes for Fanachu, but my name is Amara. I am also currently a part of the diaspora. I was born in Guam and I left there when I was about 8 years old. So I don't remember too much. I did visit in, I believe it was 2018. So it's been a while. But I currently live in Jacksonville, Florida. I grew up in Washington State. So I've been out in the States all of pretty much my formative years. So I grew up here. I guess my goal for this zine, I think, was as the outreach manager, my job for Fanachu is to reach out to the audiences, our target audience, but also audiences I guess we don't normally reach out to. So for this zine, I was I kind of felt, as someone who is a part of the diaspora, I wanted to bring myself into that. And I feel like, sometimes it gets lonely. Issa, you were saying that you only know like 3 Chamorros, which is, that does happen. And that's, it's hard. And for me, at least, having that sense of community is really important. And this is my way, I guess, of showing everyone that, we're here too. And there's people like you who have, are going through the same experience, but the zine is, the purpose of it is to showcase the different perspectives of that same experience. So again, thank you guys so much for contributing to that. It was such a pleasure seeing each and everyone. I felt so honored the whole time that I was like one of the first people to see all this artwork. And yeah, it meant so much to me, especially as someone a part of the diaspora. But I do have a question for you guys. So what does being a part of the diaspora mean to you? So for me, for example, I feel like the diaspora, for me, I always think of, why my parents moved out here. And I know one of the main reasons was for me to have opportunity, to have opportunity to, I guess, be able to do whatever I wanted out in the States. We always, I guess, someone who lives on an island, you always have this view of living stateside, right? The American dream. And then also it makes me, I feel like it feels like this huge disconnect as well for me. That I think as I get older, I realize it's a lot bigger than I want it to be. But being a part of Fanachu has really helped me with that. So I hope this zine also, serves that purpose for you, and also shows that there are so many people that you can reach out to. If you ever feel lonely, you can't find, there's no Chamorros around you or anything. So yeah, what does the diaspora mean to you? Anyone? No particular order.
I can go first. So the main reason why I left Guam when I was 18 was because of opportunity. Just the whole world was out there. Then through the years, it shifted to more of celebrating who we are as a people and really showing our culture to the world. And, we have so much to offer, we have so much to contribute, and we're a bit beautiful people. And, the world needs to know that. So it's, that's it in a nutshell. It was a long journey to that perspective, but yeah, that's pretty much what it means to me.
And did you move out here on your own when you were 18?
Yeah, I graduated from Father Duenas and came out here for school. And,
Wow.
back then it was, a lot of going back and forth. Last time I was on Guam was 2016. So it's been a while, but.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah,
I can imagine moving here by myself to the States from Guam when I'm 18. Man.
Yeah, it was rough. Definitely, culture shock.
Right.
No one, family's not around.
Right.
My girlfriend was here. She went to academy, so I followed her. And yeah, we've got married since, had kids, all that stuff. But yeah, no, it was definitely culture shock. There's no family around. It was rough first few years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thank you for sharing. Issa, did you want to go next? Do you have?
Hungan, I can share. I never really thought about that word until recently, when I had the opportunity to submit my work for the zine. I think I had previously framed my experience or my family's experience of moving from Guahan to Turtle Island, the States, including like Texas and Alaska and Hawaii. I had kind of framed it more through the lens of like immigrant or immigration. And so I think right now I'm still kind of turning this over in my mind as to how I define diaspora and like what that means to me, and who I am. But something that it kind of brings up for me is like, until the last few years, I always used to think of Guahan as kind of like a past tense memory, like something that I was physically far away from in terms of distance, like thousands of miles away. There's this tiny island, right, near the deepest point of the Pacific Ocean. So in terms of distance, I felt really far away, but also in terms of time, I always kind of thought of it as like, I was born in Guam, like my grandmother speaks Chamorro, but that's like a language of the past. And that has really shifted for me, because I started taking Senor Miguet's Chamorro classes online. And that was when things went from black and white to color for me. So now I'm in this whirlwind of sort of reframing what Guahan is to me, and in the present moment and in the future. And I can elaborate on that more, but those are some things that come to mind when I think about what diaspora means to me.
No, I love that. I love it. You have to keep us updated on your journey. I've been actually thinking about also taking some Chamorro classes, because my parents, they never, growing up in the States, they never taught me that. So yeah.
Again, you should, Mila.
Okay. And Erin, did you have any thoughts on what diaspora means to you?
Yeah, similar to Isa, it's not a word that I've really thought about too much before. But I can really relate to something that you said, Amara, about feeling like there's a disconnect, and not wanting that disconnect to be there. Yeah, so I was born on Guam, but then my family moved to the States when I was 4. And then we like moved around a lot. And then we moved back to Guam when I was a teenager. So I went to high school there. Yeah, and then I left again for college. And I haven't been back since 2019. So yeah, I definitely feel like this, I want to bridge that gap. And that's sort of where I'm at right now, just trying to figure out what that means for me in my life right now and what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess for me, since I don't speak the language, I also have to, I've been figuring out what works for me to bridge that disconnect and, feel closer to my culture. And I think what works for me, what I'm figuring out at least, is our customs. I'm trying to learn how to cook our food, or I'm, little things like, you go to fiesta and you stay up so late because you have to help with everything. You're like doing the dishes, And that's less common in the States. So I always try, to always help cook food or, respect the elders here. I guess those little mannerisms that make me proud to be Chamorro. So yeah, I don't know if that'll help you at all, but again, it is definitely all about finding what works for you. And Connie, did you have anything to say about diaspora?
Yeah, I feel like, listening to everybody, I kind of agree with it. Growing up here, I mean, my dad was in the military, so that's the reason why we ended up in the States. So I feel like for a long time, there was a disconnection. And then being able to visit Guam for the first time just changed me and really showed me like, okay, a lot of the things of who I am and on an everyday basis is because of this beautiful island. So I think we're so unique. And I feel like being a part of the diaspora is being able to share our culture with everyone. So yeah, it's just like, I feel like the more I learn about our culture and, asking my parents questions, about family members and, just trying to learn more of the language. One of the things my mom told me why she didn't want to teach me Chamorro is because she didn't want me to be confused growing up. So one good thing is though that they're teaching my son that. So that's what I'm also excited for. So, and that's knowing that there's still time to carry on our traditions and things. I feel like that's what the importance this is for me.
I love that. I was actually about to ask how how that might involve your 1.5-year-old. So
Yeah,
perfect.
but it's been great to see him just listen to them and like, I'm just grateful that they still speak to each other in it. So he's immersed in that when he's with them. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I love that. I never thought of that. It's just, I mean, a child is a whole new opportunity to, keep our culture alive. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Let me see. So I heard a few of us mention that we all, I guess, somewhat recently visited home. And I wanted to know what that experience was like for you guys, because I remember, oh my gosh, I remember when I went back and it was, I felt like all of these feelings that I forgot I could feel just came back. And there's something really, I don't know, I feel like being in the US, you're chasing the American dream. Sometimes it gets stressful and you forget where you come from, and then you go back to Guam. And I remember feeling just so relaxed and like, I remember like just being, just really enjoying being able to enjoy the little things, like being with my family. I remember getting like coconut, like my grandpa getting me coconut from the coconut tree in our backyard, going to the river, the Menangan River, and things like that I feel like I genuinely forgot where I came from. So I always try to remember, when I'm stressed or, when I'm worried about these materialistic things that, I'm from an island and I went there and I know what matters to me, and I will not forget where I came from again. So I feel like, yeah, I just didn't expect all those emotions when visiting back home. Did you guys have a similar experience?
Okay. I can definitely relate to that feeling of when I go back home. The first thing I think of is like when you step out of the airport and it's like the humidity, the way the air feels on Guam, and it's just like that familiar feeling that you're back home. And it's a good feeling. I miss it so much.
Yes, I forgot the humidity. That's a great thing there. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went back after being out here in the States and getting off the plane, that breathing that air was like really, you really notice it. It's like breathing water. It's crazy, but it felt so good. And you know, last time I was back home was 2016 for FestPack, and that was a real cool experience. Just everybody celebrating their culture. Yeah, as it was amazing to see a lot of Chamorros being involved in everything like the arts and just being involved in their culture. Because you know, I growing up on Guam, going to school, I think the first time I actually took a Chamorro class was my senior year at FD. You know, it wasn't, there wasn't a focus on it. So to go back and see the changes was really amazing.
I haven't been back since like the early mid 2000s actually. And before that, only twice as a child. And then was born there. And so when I think back to the last time I was on the island, I remember that feeling of the air that really resonated with me. There is this really particular sensation or just sensorial experience of the quality of air there. And I also can feel like the light, the sense of sunlight being like just having a particular quality. And I spent most of my formative years growing up in Hawaii, and like I can just feel the differences between the sunlight in Hawaii and the sunlight on Guam. And same with the air, like the feeling of the air coming off of the plane. But there's something about my last trip to Guam where I don't know if it was like the time of my life and the age that I was, but I almost feel like I didn't have like the most conscious awareness while I was there, in contrast to what I imagine I will experience this summer, because this summer I'm actually participating in the language immersion program that's organized by Maget and other people, including the Harao Academy. And I'm just like, so it's hard to describe the emotions that I feel when I think about going there this summer, because I'm traveling there after having started this language journey and this experience of reconnecting with people like all of you, like feeling so much less isolated and feeling much more like I'm a part of a community of Chamorros, like on the island and off island.
Awesome. Thank you. Connie, did you want to share?
I apologize. Yes, I do. I apologize. My little one is like moving around, so I'm like going in and
He
out.
is the star of the show. Star of the show.
But yeah, I feel like for me, the first time visiting was really like, I still dream about like visiting often. And I always tell my mom I'm gonna go and live there for 6 months at a time if I could. But it was really special for me because I had just lost my job and I didn't know who I was or anything at that time. So the reconnection and the feeling of the air for the first time and being able to see the ocean and visiting everywhere my mom and dad always talk about and their stories that they've always told was really special. And like getting to see mostly on my dad's side that I never got to meet growing up. It was always mainly my mom's side. That was really special. So yeah, it's like the pictures that I submitted are really something that I always keep and like look at often because it reminds me so much of that trip and just how much more connected I felt with myself. So yeah, I hope to go back soon though.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Again, with the, same experience, different perspectives. I didn't personally submit to the zine, but on the graphic for the announcement, I took a picture of my little sister, and we went to a family trip to Guam, and it's her peering out into the ocean. And I was playing around with his designs, and I was so stuck with that picture just because I feel like it was such a special moment. She was born on Guam, left when she was a baby, and she's about to be 18 now. So, that was her first time a few years ago, really, truly, consciously seeing, where she was from. And it was just such a beautiful moment. Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. Also, does anyone remember at the mall? I think we all remember this, the contraption with the ball. I don't know, I forgot to mention that, but we all remember that, right? I don't know what artists, if anyone knows what artists, so we can give credit to them. But I feel like that is just a core memory for, anyone who grew up in Guam. So I had to mention that. Okay, thank you guys. I love that. Do you guys mind sharing a little bit about each of your art pieces? So what I am going to do is I'm going to screen share. I'm going to bring up the zine and screen share. And yeah, if you could just, I'll start with Erin and then work my way down. And if you could just share a little bit about your piece, whatever you want, however much you want to tell us, what inspired you. Talk about your favorite mediums to work with, anything like that. But let me share my screen 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thumbs up if you guys can see my screen. Perfect. Okay, just making sure. All right, so I guess Erin, will start with you. Let's see. And I remember you drew one with a bat, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna have to be more specific. Let's see. Sorry. Oh, there you are.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah, I love these so much. What was are these digital drawings? Are they charcoal?
No, they're ink drawings, so just
Okay.
pen. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so yeah, these are like animals native to Guam. I started with the fanihi first. This was inspired by, I guess, like my grandpa talking about fanihi and what it was like to see them and like catch them and what they taste like. And then of course I had to draw Coco and then also a sea heck, which is a kingfisher. It basically came from this realization I had that that these animals, in the past you would see them in the wild, but we never got to experience that. So it's sort of this realization that this is something that was taken from like our generations. And it took me a long time to realize that, because it's hard to feel a loss when you never knew what it was like to have something in the first place. But I think just sort of like trying to like reconnect with, you know, Chamorro culture and learning more about Guahan more recently, also listening to the Fanachu podcast made me yeah, just realize, you know, that sort of the like injustice of that, and the damage that like colonization has done, rather than being complacent about it or thinking of colonization as something that happened in the past, but rather realizing that it's like something that continues to happen. So yeah, I just wanted to like create these drawings to like appreciate the beauty of our native animals. And yeah.
Thank you. Is this your usual medium, ink drawings?
Yeah, I usually draw with ink.
Awesome. It looks so detailed. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in. Oh my gosh. How long do they usually take you? Like, I guess one of these.
Like a few days. I draw
Gosh,
really slowly.
I could never. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Isa, let me see. You know, I didn't think this searching thing through, but it's not working as well as I thought it would, so bear with me, please. Let's see, probably be. I feel like I went through this so much that I've almost memorized where your art pieces are, so this will probably be easier anyways. Let's see. Okay, it's not there. I guess while I'm looking for Issa's, Erin, did you have any submissions that really stood out to you? If you had time to look at the zine.
Oh, I think you went past mine. Like, I think it's
Oh my
back to
gosh.
the right. I'm sorry, Dispensa.
No, thank you. Thank you. I would have been going on forever. Let's see.
It is, there's like two images, another artist's work on the top, and then mine on the lower right.
There you are. That okay. Let me zoom in. Oh. I may be young, but I'm not tech savvy, guys. Okay. Okay, Isa, if you could tell us a little bit about your piece, please.
Hungen and Erin, I just want to say that I love your ink drawings. Gefagogui, they're so beautiful. I'm already in my mind. I'm like, I want to have you as a visiting artist in the classes that I teach at the U of M. The image that you're looking at on the lower right-hand side is an artwork that I made. If you were to experience it in person, it's quite large. It's probably 40 something inches wide by 30 something inches tall. And it's made of newsprint, which I painted with gesso and earth pigments, powdered earth pigments mixed with casein to make milk paint. And then there's some mixed media, there's acrylic also. And what I do, I've developed this specific process of painting large amounts of paper in different colors and wrinkling them, like repeatedly crumpling the paper to create a wrinkled and pliable texture. And I feel compelled to mention that I've also made artwork with banana leaves that I pressed. I like made a custom sort of like press to flatten them using banana leaves from my parents' backyard in Mililani, Oahu. And there's something about the way that I manipulate paper for the artworks that I create that kind of like reminds me of dried banana leaves. Like they kind of share like a surface or material quality. And then after I make this material, I collage them, I cut them into shapes and reassemble them to create my artworks. In this piece, there is an image of like a silhouette of a hand intersecting with a circle. And hands and circles are repeated. They're like these shapes or forms that I've been revisiting again and again in my work. And something that I wanted to express in this piece was using colors and textures and shapes to create a feeling of like fragmentation, like that the image feels kind of, it feels whole, but it feels kind of like it's falling apart at the same time. And for me, that feeling relates to the way that I imagine elements of my identity as it relates to a sense of place or a place of origin. So a sense of feeling whole, but also kind of incomplete at the same time. And circles often appear in my work. They often relate to the moon or the stars. So I explore a lot of imagery related to cosmology in my work, and I'm really deeply fascinated by our history of our ancestors and the seafaring traditions of navigating the ocean, using the stars, and also just really sophisticated knowledges of the ocean and the environment. And when I created this piece, I was pregnant with my son, who is a 1.5 years old. And so Connie, I feel like we need to collaborate on the first stateside Chamorro immersion program. Class of 2 so far. But when I was creating this artwork, I had this kind of like daydreaming moment where I imagined the Pacific Ocean as having a kind of, I imagine the Pacific Ocean as having a physical body, or like a quasi-human body. And then I imagined the island of Guam being kind of like the belly button of the ocean, which as a mother, like having recently given birth, like just for me had a lot of meaning, because the idea of a belly button is like the umbilical point of connection between generations and between ancestors. And so yeah, I had this kind of like vision in my mind of the ocean as having a body and having a belly button, which is represented by this circle. Yeah, that's my piece. Thank you for allowing me to share it.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I was very drawn to the name, so thank you. I love that. I love that. Okay. And then Ed, let's see. See if this works better. Perfect. Okay, Ed, I know you did here. I think you're on the other side. I know you did share a little bit about your restaurant, but if you could tell us more, I guess, about your journey, and I guess what inspired you. Have you always loved cooking and whatnot? That'd be great.
Yeah. To answer that question, I think I love cooking. I was always getting involved, and I think that's one. It seems like every culture kind of talks about that, how they get involved in the kitchen and love their food and learn how to cook. And I think especially our Chamorro culture, it's such a part of family gatherings, and yeah, just spending time with your elders, with you know, your mom and dad, or your grandma and your grandpa, your uncles, your aunties, like everybody's involved. And so yeah, when the story that I wrote here was kind of like, in a nutshell, my journey of I think Senor Maget touched upon this earlier, how it kind of went from this lament of loss, and then shifting the perspective to, you know, going through that whole transition of celebrating the culture, and like taking that loss, and or the feeling of loss, and turning it around into creating a change, or you know, creating the change that you want to see in the world, right? When I came out here in the States, there's pretty much I know other people had open restaurants before me, and you know, in other states, I heard stories about things in San Diego and elsewhere. Even in, you know, Washington, like a long time, I think in the 70s, there was a newspaper article that somebody brought to me about an old Chamorro lady that was, you know, making empanadas and other, you know, Chamorro treats. But when I came out here, there's, you know, there wasn't anywhere to celebrate our food. There wasn't anywhere to get our food, and it was amazing to me that how many of us are out here and nobody's like providing that resource for us. So it was kind of, that's kind of what started the drive to it. Like after realizing that I wanted to get into food professionally, and then realizing that there wasn't an outlet for our culture, and then creating that outlet, and then seeing all these people just come out of everywhere. And, you know, I'm kind of scratching my head, like, where have you guys been? And because, you know, it's like, you can only get our food if you know somebody from the islands, go to their house on Sunday when they're barbecuing in the backyard. Like, that's the only way you're going to get our food. And like, that's not fair. Like, we have so much to offer. So this is kind of my story of wanting to leave the island to find something more, and then realizing that everything that I was looking for was what I had left behind. So that's pretty much it. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing that. I do have another important question for you. So if someone who's watching this, if they were to visit PDX 671, what are the top 3 dishes that they should order?
Well, you can't visit PDX 671 anymore,
Oh,
unfortunately. But it was obviously chicken kelowin. That's the number one.
Okay.
After that, you got the shrimp patties and empanada.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think you just made us all hungry here.
Oh, and the chicken kelowin has to go with the tatitas.
Oh my goodness, of course. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Ed. Okay. Hey, Connie. Yeah. Oh my gosh, having technical difficulties. Okay. Let's see. Connie, what is your last name? Is it start with an S?
Yes, Santos.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I've been editing this so much, I've memorized it.
Oh, right there. It
Oh, wait.
was, yes, the black and white photos. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I love these photos. If you could tell us a little about it, and I guess about your trip as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time when I visited, I had lost my job, and so many things were changing in life, and I always aspired. I was doing photography for a little bit, but not really seriously. I like at that trip, I just kind of got so like, and I was shooting film, which is like older with an older camera at the time too. And that was like my first time really being like submersing myself in being present and just kind of capturing and documenting everything just because I was there and I had nothing to answer to or anything at the time. And it definitely like catapulted me to like continue doing photography. I've been doing that now since then, more full time. So I feel like when I look at these photos, it was just like that marker for me. And it's ironically, yes, baby. Ironically, it's actually been, I went there March, literally today I got a memory of when I flew in. So I just remember that right now, that this marks the day of, it'll be 4 years already since going there. And I feel like with these photos, I was always really big on capturing black and white. And I felt like they just, when I saw them, it was really like, they just looked very timeless to me. They didn't look at it didn't have like a date or time when I went there. And I felt like it was just important for me to document my experience. And at that time, what really pulled me to traveling to Guam was also to learn more of like our natural way of healing, just because at that time I was just in need of that as well. So being able to connect in that way with the land and the ocean, and just having to not worry about anything, especially going to work at the time, which I'm grateful for. And I was able to go with my parents too. Just was such a staple. And then even being able to visit the museum was also very changing. That was the last place I visited. So for me, just learning so much, and within the 2 weeks that I was there, it just didn't feel like enough. So I feel like just that was the important thing to me that I took from that, as why I need to continue doing photography and carrying that on, and why documenting your story, my own personal story, was an important thing. So that's why I also wanted to submit the photos as well.
And then what camera did you use for that?
It was a older point and shoot Canon Sure Shot. So yeah, which it's no longer working now. Though I had 5 of them ever since then. But I just really love the way that it would take photos. It just was it's like, I think that camera was from the 70s. So yeah, so I feel like that was always my thing too, and using film photography especially, is because it just captures different than digital. It's like I wasn't able to know what the photographs were going to look like until I developed them. Right. And then I didn't develop those until a year after the trip. So, and by that time it was already the pandemic had started. So it was really something nice to be able to look at and just be, just to remember that time and place. But yeah.
Thank you. I love black and white photography. I feel like it just, there's so much, I feel like you're looking for emotion in other places of the photo. And so, yeah, I really loved your submissions.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I loved hearing each and every one of your stories. It means so much to me. And I do have one last question. It'll be the hardest question ever, so I apologize. I guess to leave the viewers of this podcast, what is one thing you want them to know about you? If the world could know one thing about you, what would it be? You can take a moment to think. I'm thinking like, how would I even answer that? I guess I will answer first. Let's see. One thing I want the world to know about me is, let's see. That's a really hard question. I didn't even think of this. Let me see. I'm really proud of being Chamorro. I think that's one thing. And I hope I think I heard this in a few of our conversations, especially with Ed, how, I used to be so angry at, just thinking about decolonization and, our Guahan's history and our past and what we were left with. And then I remember, Maget invited me to be on a panel for, I think it was a youth discussing decolonization. And it just opened up, it felt so much better having people to talk about it. So yeah, I want the world to know that, because I know I am somewhat westernized in their eyes, but I'm very proud to be Chamorro. And I hope I can emulate that, in everything that I do. Okay.
I think one thing I want people to know is I'll never stop shining a light on our people. I think that's super important to me. I mean, my wife and I, we have 2 kids, right? They're born and raised out here in Portland, Oregon. And ever since they were little, I always told them, like, if anybody asks where you're from, make sure you say Guam. It's like, yeah, you're born out here, but that's not where you're from.
I love that. Also, make sure they know to correct if they say Guatemala, because that happens way more often than it should. I don't think I'm the only one who experiences that, but yeah, thank you for sharing. Also, I know it's a very hard question, so you don't have to answer it, but if you want to leave the podcast with anything, this is your moment to add something. You don't have to answer my question. I now realize that was a very hard question.
I can share next. I just want to share that I feel really incredibly grateful to be a part of this movement of I'm grateful to be a part of this movement of people who are uplifting Ikoturata, our culture, Zen, Ifinota, our language. And I'll just put it out there. I want the world to know that I can do a headstand on a surfboard. And Sisu Usmasi.
Okay, does anyone else? Oh, Connie. Okay.
Sure. I think the thing that I was like really thinking of what I would say that I would want the world to know about me, but I think just an experience to it's always a cliche thing, but continue to always follow your heart and trusting yourself. And I feel like for me, that is something that has led me here, and being able to be connected with you all was because I followed my heart and I listened to the calling, and I feel like I'm just grateful for that. And I hope my story can be shared throughout the world and me to continue documenting. And I hope to go back to Guam so I can be able to document more.
Yeah, I can't really think of one thing, but yeah, I just want to echo what others have said. I'm proud to be Chamorro too, and I'm really thankful to be a part of this. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to let you guys know that I really appreciate, I know it's hard talking about this topic sometimes. I know it's hard, putting yourself in front of a screen on the internet, right? But I really appreciate you sharing your art with me and explaining it to me and whatnot. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And if you have, by the way, anyone watching this, if you submitted to the zine and you see anything you want changed or any errors, please let me know, because it was a one-person editing team. And there was definitely a learning curve. So I appreciate any feedback. Thank you guys so much for being on the zine today. I really appreciate you all. And I'm leaving this conversation feeling so much better. So thank you guys.